Welcome to Drummers Paradise, where drummers get to know each other and what fuels their passion for groove. We truly appreciate your support. Please join our growing community by hitting that subscribe button, clicking that like button, and turning on that notification bell. It truly helps this community grow. Now, without further ado,
we have the very talented and one of the kindest drummers joining us today, all the way from Toronto, Ontario. Keith Heppler. This man has been killing it within the Canadian music scene, lending his skills to bands such as Secret Broadcast, Die Mannequin, and currently playing with HIGHTEENS. We are very excited to get to know Keith and what drives his passion for groove. But first, let's check out this video of him crushing the kit.
welcome, Keith.
Hey.
That was so good. Walk us through some of that.
The video?
Yes, please.
That is a montage I made when I was rehearsing last spring for a Hot Lips reunion show.
Nice.
Hot Lips broke up kind of abruptly, and then we didn't talk to each other for like a couple of years. Then we did one last show. So it was sort of a bit of a cram session, and I just set cameras up around and edited them all together in my own cheeky kind of way.
That was nice. Thanks for sharing that with us. Perfect.
Well, Keith, thanks for coming all the way down here today, man, and hanging with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Let's get to know you a little bit. Where did your drumming journey, let's say, begin, and where are you from?
Yeah, what hometown are you from?
I grew up in Waterloo, Ontario.
Okay.
My interest in drums, I had an older cousin who had a drum set, a little black Tama Swing Star.
Okay.
And he'd have it in his basement. He's maybe 10 years older than me. So I'd go over and he'd be 16 and I'd be like 6. And I was just, there's just something about them. Like I still remember the way they looked and they were set up and still like, I just thought they were just, I don't know, they were just so cool. And I remember I really liked the idea that every drummer could be given the same 4-piece drum set, but everyone's heights would be different and the toms would be angled. Something about the mechanics of it all, I just really thought was cool.
Same but different.
Yeah, and I used to think that, like, because I look on Much Music and stuff, and some guys had big double kick drum kits, and some guys had little 4-piece kits or 3-piece. And I just thought that the drummers that didn't want the extra drums just gave them to their friends that had metal, that like metal. And that's how people got big drum sets.
Big drum kits,
yeah.
That's funny.
But it was just that, and it always stuck with me. And then when I was maybe 10 is when I started to like really like get into music, and I always remembered it, and I always remember seeing him play, and it just always just did something for me and to me. And then like probably like every other guy you have on this podcast, I begged my parents and begged them, and then they relented and they got me a practice pad kit. Okay. And they're like, this'll kill the fun, right? There's no way he's gonna want to keep going after he's played in these 4 rubber pads. And I just kept at it, and got a paper route. And the deal was if I could save up half the money, they'd get the other half. And then I got my first drum set when I was 11. Oh. Yeah. I just haven't really
persistence.
Stopped. Yeah.
That's amazing. So now, tell us a little bit, like what kind of gear do you have now? What do you play with?
My primary set is I use a Thai Studio Maple. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Thai.
No, not Thai.
Do you remember Aot drums?
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
So Ray Aot left Aot and started another company called Thai.
Amazing drums, by the way.
I think so. No one uses them. They're out of business now. They're kind of hard to come by, but they're rarity. The third set of them I've had. They're honestly, they're not terribly expensive, but they're the best bang for your buck. And, in this economy,
well, yes,
a good value goes a long way.
That's right.
So I've been using Thai drums, and then I have a Black Panther brass snare.
Okay.
which is like that's my go-to, and then I have a couple of like superphonics and the standards.
Right.
But I'm not too precious about gear, to be honest. I'm sort of down. There's certain brands I like more than others, but I've found that if gear is sort of tall enough to ride the ride, it's all like it'll all be fine. I don't matter. It doesn't really matter if I'm backlined with a Yamaha kit or a Tama kit, as long as they're tuned and good to go. I'm pretty easy.
Pretty easy on it.
Yeah.
Nice.
And most drummers, we don't use our own drums half the time.
Half the time, when you're gigging anyway.
Yeah, you kind of just gotta, you're not
it.
gonna bring your own drums to like a European tour. You're just gonna kind of have to figure out what you got, or.
That's right.
So yeah, I've been lucky to be able to play on a bunch of different kinds, but the Thai drum set is my go-to.
Sometimes you're lucky to get a 4-piece when you're on tour. You're in Europe and you show up to a club and their house kit's got like one tom and half a bass drum, and
I've had bad luck recently with the opposite, where some guy has because I just use like the Ringo setup.
Yes.
Right, forward, like one up, one down,
me
kick.
too. Yeah.
I have 2 crashes and a ride and hats, and that's all I use. And we were doing this show. I don't want to say where or who with, but the guy who was providing the drums had one of those like 80s cages.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
I was just like, oh no. No.
That's a lot to look around.
It's a lot.
I had the same thought, but I made it work. But I mean, I'd almost rather just have 3 drums than like
On the massive rack, just have 3.
Yeah, because I'm just like, where do I even start? But we made it work. It was cool.
That's fun.
Amazing. So, Keith, are you self-taught? Did you take any lessons throughout your drumming career so far?
It's sort of silly to say, but I'd say half and half. When I started, I took lessons for about 4 years. Half an hour. I think it was an hour every other week, at like a local music school. And then I went to there was this guy named Gary Tomlin who taught like everyone who's ever done anything with music out of Kitchener. But he was kind of like a Whiplash kind of dude. Mm-hmm. And I was just this, punk kid. So I quit. I should have. I still practice everything he taught me.
Right.
But I was just like, this. Let's go play shows. So then for the majority of my playing, it's been like self-taught. But like at the fundamentals, I had a bunch of people show me.
Right. So with so much information out there on the web, where do you suggest people go to start getting a good foundation for drums?
There's so much, isn't there?
There's so much out there. You're right.
I mean, Drumeo is kind of the industry standard now. What those guys are doing is fantastic.
Yeah.
And
Jared and the gang, eh?
I mean, everyone that's listening to this knows this, but drummers are a weird breed where we're such a community. Mm-hmm. I don't think like bass players have the same
or guitar players,
or
right?
guitar
Or vocalists even.
Guitar players are super secretive. Like they don't even want to tell each other what they're playing through. They want to keep all their little tricks the same. Drumeo, you also have to be careful because I've seen some guys out there like teaching like wrong stuff. They'll be like, "This is how you play a triplet." And it's like, no, don't listen to this, man.
False information.
yeah, Drumeo. That's my answer.
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So, Keith, what would you say the 4 foundational elements are when it comes to drumming?
Or some of the key ones anyway. Maybe not 4, but the key.
I think it's different for what you want to be doing. I would classify myself, and I've been told I'm a song drummer, which means I play simply.
You play for the song.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm not out there blowing chops or anything. I would say that like first and foremost, pocket and groove, which I guess everyone has their own idea of what that means.
That's true.
But to me, it's just, laying a foundation, you don't want to ever do anything that'll take someone out of the song. You just want people to kind of be doing that. They don't really know why. If people are moving, you're kind of doing your job. Tuning and tone, which I think is something that gets overlooked a lot, especially by younger players.
I agree, yes.
I think it's really important that you should be able to, get your drums sounding in tune with each other. I'm not going to go as far as say tune them to a specific note or anything, but I think like having a good idea, and when you're in the studio, you should be able to sort of get the idea in your head out.
You have a direction on what a floor tom should
Yeah.
sound like exactly.
What sounds good, what sounds
and what sounds
bad.
good, and what's
Yeah. And because drums are weird because like it's not like you can kind of just beat the shit out of an out-of-tune drum set when you're learning, and it still feels and sounds cool, right? But as you get a little bit more serious and you're sort of playing music, I think that's and there's so many. There's like tune bots now,
Yes.
and drum dials.
Yes, there is.
I mean, like there's none of that. When like my drum
Just
sounded
tapping
like
the drum and turning the key.
basketballs for years, just trying to figure it out. Dynamics. I'm a pretty heavy hitting drummer, but it took me a long time to realize it can't just be at 10 the entire time. And if you can kind of learn how to bring it down a little bit, then the louds seem a lot louder.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was that guy for years, just beating the shit out of them.
Just pounding.
100% of the time. Like, dynamics, I'm playing as loud as I can.
If I can get to 11, I'm going to get to 11.
Yeah, I'm going to aim for the floor. So groove, tuning, dynamics, and I think a general understanding of music and songwriting. Mm-hmm. I think as drummers, we spend so much of our lives watching songs kind of be created around us that you should have enough knowledge to be able to contribute and like just be like a little bit musically literate. I'm not saying like you need to know all the theory and stuff, but to be able to communicate with like the other musicians. If you hear something in your head, like a bass line that'll complement what you're doing, you should be able to like articulate that and not sound like a guitar player trying to explain a drum part.
Yes.
Which we've all probably experienced.
Yes. Once or twice.
Yeah.
They are critical, right?
Yeah. Do it like gagoon doom do. It's like, yeah, okay, bro, sure.
I got it. Anyways, we're going to take a word now from our sponsor, Drumland, out of Vaughan. John and the gang, great drum shop for all your supplies, drum heads, drumsticks, drums, cymbals, you name it, they got it. We're going to put their social links below. Make sure to check them out. Support your local drum shop, and they'll be happy to take care of you.
Hey, Ed, do you have the new Tom Amir rod in stock?
Not right now, but we can notify you when it's available. Here, let me show you how.
Keith, why don't you fill us in a little bit when you started playing live shows and how quickly that progressed into bigger shows and perhaps playing some festivals?
Yeah, so the first time I ever played in front of the audience was my grade 7 talent show, and I played a drum solo.
Okay.
Solo.
Solo.
I mean, I played the drums and no one else was playing. And then grade 8, I did, I feel like everyone's first song is something by Weezer or like song 2 by Blur or something. But we did Say It Ain't So, and we screwed it up.
Okay.
But we recovered. It's a valuable lesson.
Yes. Recovery.
And then going into high school, that was like I was going to make my big move, playing bands in high school. But one thing I wasn't counting on, I was really into punk rock at the time. I still am. One thing I wasn't counting on is just how many people at that time wanted to play Dave Matthews Band music, which I really wasn't counting on.
Was it your thing?
So, yeah, no, not really. It still isn't. I think Carter Beaufort's a great drummer, but it's just not for me.
Yeah.
So the first band I joined was a friend's older brother's band, and we won a battle of the bands and recorded an EP in 3 hours.
Wow.
And then from there, Waterloo had a really good music scene. And I don't know if anywhere else was like this, but when I started playing in like punk bands, in the vein of like the No Effects, Fat Records, Rancid, and Out Come the Wolves, that's kind of what was going on. We had this couple community centers that would have shows, and honestly, without exaggeration, on a Friday night, you could be playing in front of like 300 kids. I think partly it was lack of anything else to do. I think partly it was just a city that really liked music. And there were a ton of bands. And so I did that. I played in various punk bands through high school, and we got to, I'm trying to think, we got to open, like the Planet Smashers. I remember
fun.
playing with them, and Mustard Plug, and Bigwig was like a
Tom and the Boys.
yeah,
Yes.
Dayglow Abortions.
Yes.
So between kind of Guelph, Kitchener, Waterloo, that was like the circuit. You know, your moms could drive you, pick you up. So I did that, and then the first sort of real band I ever got in was a university band called In Transit, and it was like kind of like Snow Patrol Coldplay,
Okay.
which was a huge departure from what I was doing. But at that time, punk rock had kind of become like emo mall punk, and it was kind of getting away from everything that I liked about punk. And I was outgrowing it, and you know, I just wasn't into that mall punk stuff. So from there, that was the first band. I remember we got an indie deal in Japan
Oh, nice.
for some reason.
Somewhere.
That's a good place to get an indie deal, eh?
Yeah, Duotone Records by Haru signed us. I remember that. At this point, I'm probably like 18.
Okay.
Still, yeah, because I remember a couple of those shows I wasn't even old enough to get into like the clubs. I'd have to, but then that's when we started playing with like, I remember like we played with this band called You Say Party, We Say Die that ended up kind of getting bigger, and that was the first time we ever had a producer. So we hired this guy named Brian Moncars, who's actually become a really, I think he produced the Texas King stuff.
Okay. With Melvin, one of our guests. On
Yeah,
the show.
yeah, and he's looking at the Texas King. But at that point, I think Brian was just starting out, and actually on that record, the guy Jay, who we were just talking about off camera,
Jay Leomatis.
I met him. He drum teched for the session, which I didn't even know was a thing. I didn't know like drum techs or any of that existed. And then from that, Moncars recommended the bass player and I for a band called Red Light Riot. And Red Light Riot was these two girls that they had a manager, right? And they were going to pay us to like record and do shows. And someone was booking the shows. And the guitar player of that band was a guitar player named Donna Grantis, who went on to guitar play for Prince.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
Yeah, like a year or two after that band
That's a
broke
good
up.
gig.
So I did that for like a summer and a fall. And then that band broke up, and I joined a band from my hometown called Saigon Hookers.
I remember them.
Yeah.
What a name.
You, you
What?
played in Saigon Hookers.
I played in Saigon Hookers for a little while. Yeah, I played at the Saigon Hookers first show when I was like 16.
Okay, yeah.
And they're like, yeah, you can't be in the band, man. You're like
You're
16.
a little too young.
Yeah.
Way 2 years.
Yeah. And so I did that, and I was sort of kicking around doing that. And then I got hipped to the Secret Broadcast audition. And this was like 2010, 2011. And it was like a weird time where there wasn't streaming, but there wasn't album sales. So like to get signed, no one really knew what, and they were from Calgary, and they won a radio station contest. One of those like big, like you win $10,000 and you get to open this music festival or whatever. And then they got some label interest, and they moved to Toronto, but their drummer didn't make the move. And I auditioned, and I got the gig, and then that was like my first sort of label experience. And I did that, and that was like kind of a new level for me. And I did that, and then from that, we were on the same label and had the same manager as Die Mannequin.
Okay.
So we opened for them a couple times, and Kara would watch me side stage. And then I kind of heard that she was looking to switch up the lineup of the band. Okay. And I put my name in, and then I don't even call it an audition. We jammed, and it was pretty obvious that it was going to work.
Meshed well.
Yeah, and then I did that, and that was like touring Europe, and one of my first shows was like on the Marilyn Manson tour. Like that was the first time I ever got to play like in arenas and outdoor festivals.
That's cool.
And I was playing with them in Secret Broadcast at the same time. I did one tour because Secret Broadcast was kind of mad at me. That, like,
a little jealous.
so I got it so Secret Broadcast would open for Die Mannequin on a tour, which I didn't think through. I was like, this would be great.
Now you're doing double duty every night.
Oh, I was exhausted.
Yeah, I bet you were. Yeah.
Awful. It was fun. Like I just remember after the first show, I was just like, oh no, what have I done?
What did I sign up for?
And then both of those bands, I left Secret Broadcast because, the label world can be tricky, kind of difficult to navigate. And then Diamanic, it became like more and more infrequent. Like it was no longer like tour after tour after tour. It was just like a couple one-off shows. And I started a band called Hot Lips.
Hot Lips, yes.
And
With
I think,
Alex.
I think that's where we met.
Yes, we
probably
did.
at a Hot Lips show.
Yes, we did.
And we played like crazy. And then we really kind of had our shit together. We had a manager and an American booking agent, and we were being pitched for some 5-week national runs in March of 2020.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's the
And
time.
then, boom,
So
the lockdown.
The timing didn't really work out, and then we tried to keep it going, but we did one last tour, but it was one of those start stops. It was like open, closed. Okay, you can play, but people are seated, and we were just like, phooey, like this is over. And then from that, Alex and I, who's in Hot Lips, we started HIGHTEENS.
Right.
And then I've done a handful of like people. Some people have asked me if I can play on their record, or I've done some live shows filling in for people. But I've always been more of a band guy than a hired gun. But I have done a little bit of that stuff. But I much prefer being in a band.
Right.
That's awesome, Keith. That's awesome. So, hey, is there a tour story that you're comfortable telling on this show that will make us all laugh here on Drummer's Paradise?
Okay, I was thinking about this. I have many stories.
And I just want to lay it out. You could take it all the way back to high school, or you could have something current.
I was thinking about that. I have some good ones, but I gotta like protect some people's identities
Yes.
and myself as well. Okay, so the story I was thinking of is the second record I made with Secret Broadcast. We made it in Seattle at Robert Lang Studios, which is the studio that's known for like the first Foo Fighters album.
Okay.
And we did it with a producer named Adam Casper, who recorded a bunch of Pearl Jam stuff, but he also recorded You Know You're Right by Nirvana, which they recorded at that studio. So that studio is a residential studio. We were there for about 4 or 5 weeks. So drums happen first, right?
Yes,
so
they do.
4 days and I'm done. I'm just bored and I'm hanging out, but like, what am I really doing? The place is haunted. And like, I don't mean just like, oh, this place is haunted. I mean like, it's like like whoever certifies these things to be haunted.
Double certified.
Yeah, like whoever like can
Yeah, it's
stamp.
got a plaque.
Yeah, it's like I've seen it like on TV and stuff about it. So there's a bunch of different rooms, but my room is on this like main floor that's like off the kitchen, and it had its own bathroom. And I think we like drew straws or something, and I got like the good room. So I'm showering one day. Everyone's already downstairs. I'm like, I'll be there in a minute. Like there's dialing guitar sounds or whatever. And I'm washing my hair, and the lights just dim. And I'm like, oh, I don't like that. And I look, and they're like, they're not dimmers. They're switches.
Oh,
No, sorry. They are dimmers. They're not switches. This is important. Okay. So then I'm kind of like, oh, I don't like this. I got like a weird feeling. So I went down in the studio and I was like, I don't like this. And the one guy, the house engineer, is like, oh yeah, that happens. I'm like, what do you fucking mean that happens? Like in that room, the one I'm living in? So then I kind of put it out of my mind, and like a week or two later, again, same deal. Everyone's downstairs. I go in the shower, and then the lights go like on and off, on and off, on and off. Like, and I freak out.
as anyone would.
And I got like a weird feeling, and I run down, like just putting my clothes on the way to the studio in the basement. And I remember I was like just in code, and the singer goes, wait, click. And he takes a photo of me, and he goes, what happened? So somewhere out there's a photo of me, like right after the hair's all wet and like
Dazzled.
yeah, and then I was so spooked. And I remember the owner of the studio, his wife at the time, emailed us, just like, how's it going? And they're like, yeah, our drummer got haunted. And he's like, oh, is he on the bedroom in the main floor? Was it the window that opened, or was it the lights in the bathroom? And I was like, are you kidding me?
No, wow.
Yeah, so I just,
that is insane.
Yeah, so that's
That is a great story.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow. So what tips can you give young aspiring drummers when it comes to playing live shows?
avoid haunted studios.
That's number
Yeah,
one.
that's
for
one
sure.
for sure.
Sorry, when it comes to playing live
Playing
shows.
live shows, yes.
For me, playing live is like something I have to do frequently to feel comfy in. So like if I'm on tour, by 3 days in, I'm feeling good and loose and ready to go. But like, if we're not playing for a little while and we have like one off, we haven't played in maybe like 2 months, I find those shows like kind of tricky.
Right.
So my advice would be do it frequently and do it everywhere. Like, if the place sucks, that's actually a good thing because you're going to have to learn to adapt. If you're looking at doing this, you're looking to play a lot of shows, you're going to have to adapt. You're going to have to get used to bass drums that have no muffling inside. You're going to have used to different size drum set. You're going to have to navigate people's personalities. Like, this sound guy's a real dickhead, and he's kind of ruined the vibe. How are you going to bounce back? So I would say when you're starting out, just as often as possible, with as many people as possible.
Right.
Just play.
That's some good advice. Absolutely.
How did you become a working drummer, and what took place for that to happen?
It's kind of like I was saying before. It was just sort of one thing leading into the other. I always try to be prepared and kind of have my homework done. I don't I'm just reliable. You know, you kind of grow up reading Modern Drummer, and you read about the Kenny Aronoffs and the Josh. Not that I'm not comparing myself to those guys at all, but I mean, just I just wanted to be reliable, prepared, and have the right look for what I was doing, and I've never really been a drummer's drummer. I've always been sort of a song drummer, so just trying to make sure I've got the right feel, and I never wanted to be a liability or someone that anyone had to worry about. So just being on time and being easy to work with. It's a little bit different when you're hired to play with someone. It's a bit of a different ball game than if you're in the band. If you kind of have to just go with the flow. If you're executing someone's vision, it's up to them.
Yeah, you're getting hired.
When you're in a band, you can be like, that's fucking stupid. We're not doing that. So there's sort of two kind of hats you have to learn to wear. You can do the one where you're the employee, and you can be the one where you're more part of the artistic vision. So absolutely. I think it's important to differ. You can't go into a hired situation like you would, with your band.
Yeah, you can't be conducting shots when you're a hired guy, right?
No.
You're getting hired for your service and hired for what you do, right?
Yeah, and only and the other advice I can give is only give your opinion when asked in those situations. Don't volunteer it. No one cares. You're just the drummer.
Yeah, they sound like some pretty key ingredients, right? Coming prepared, knowing your part.
Yeah, don't learn at rehearsal. That's just ignorant. Your rehearsal is time to put it together. Learning you do on your own.
On your own time, absolutely. That's why you have to come prepared.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. Well, now, what do you think the key components are then for working drummers to become successful then?
I think all the things I just mentioned. Yeah. I think in this day and age, you really need to know your way around backing tracks.
Playing to a click.
Playing to a click is there's no way around it. But I mean, in so many bands I've been in, there's backing tracks, and guess what? It's our job as the drummer to run them, and you need to be able to troubleshoot them, and whether you're using Ableton or an SBD SX or whatever, you need to have a working knowledge of those things and kind of have to fix it. And I don't really have an opinion on backing tracks. I know some people don't ever use backing tracks, but I mean, sometimes it makes complete sense.
Yes.
Pardon me. So, and just be easy to get along with and respectful of your fellow musicians.
Nice. Thank you for that.
Nice. That was awesome. Well, Adam.
Yes, T.
You know what time it is?
It is.
It's the Paradiddle challenge time.
Let's see what Keith has here. We're doing a top 10. Who is the quickest out of 10 gets a prize, a nice Drummer's Paradise shirt. So let's see where Keith falls in on here.
Are you ready, Keith?
No.
No?
No.
All right, well, let's do it.
We're going to start you off at 100 BPM at quarter notes and see. We'll do maybe 10 BPM increment increases and see how high we can get you here.
All right, I'll do my best.
You're going to do awesome.
You ready, Keith?
I think so.
Here we go. Here's 100 BPM. He's locked in. You got it.
Yeah, he's good on that.
We're going to jump him up to 20 BPM, I think, here. 120. Oh, he's got it. $140.
140 it is.
He's got it. Locked in. 160 is the next number here. You got this, Keith. You got this. Nice.
Nice. Yeah. Do you want to go up by 10 or do you want to go up by another 20?
Let's do 10.
Okay, so 170. Let's see if we can get 170 here. Bit wavery. What do you think?
Like, you try it one more time?
How'd that feel? Yes. Okay, one more time at 170. Let's go. Locked in there. Yeah, you were locked in there. 180. Oh. Let's try.
Let's try.
See if you can break the record.
I think that's as fast as I can go.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Good job, Keith. Thanks for doing that. Amazing.
And what would that was got at least as fast as the last guy?
Last guy got 170, so
Okay.
you comfortably got 170 as well. So tied for first.
Well, I'm only the second guy, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, tied for first.
There's a long way to fall.
Killer job on that paradiddle, Keith.
That was
That
amazing.
was amazing. That was awesome.
Thank you.
So, what are 3 of the most important rudiments that you would say every drummer should have in their arsenal?
The paradiddle, I mean, that's working both the single and double strokes. So, I mean, they're in the first 2 rudiments are the singles and doubles, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
The paradiddle, the 6-stroke roll, I think, is a really versatile one. And I'm a big fan of the paradiddle diddle.
Okay.
Paradiddle.
Yeah, right, left, left, left. I like fills and rudiments that if you're playing in 4, they're kind of in groupings of 6.
Mm-hmm.
So like a 6-stroke roll or paradiddle diddle, if you can kind of figure out how to work those around the kit, it just gives it another little dimension instead of just playing, 16th notes over a 16th note fill over a 4/4 time.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a nice way to look at it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they're very musical
Yes.
too. I mean, you could just blowing doubles and singles. I mean, it's impressive for like 10 seconds. And then you're like, I get it.
But if you can do 170 with a paradiddle, like that is
Barely.
pretty impressive, I would say. So what's one single piece of advice you could give a drummer who's frustrated and thinking about giving up?
I think we've all been there, right?
Mm-hmm. We had definitely
Man, sometimes I find just take a break.
right.
And, you get into these, you're just practicing. And sometimes, like, I don't know, for me, it feels like there's sometimes these moments of, like, I can watch myself get better really quickly. And sometimes I just feel like I'm just sort of plateaued. And sometimes just, like, take a week off, just take a break. And when you come back, sometimes it takes your mind a little bit of time to internalize, like, the thing you're trying to learn. Because I've like, sometimes you're cramming for a gig, like you have to learn something really quick, and you're just like, this is hard, right? If I just had like a couple days just to like let this marinate, it'd be a lot easier. Another, switch up what you're listening to. I like recently I've been trying to listen to music that there's not even like, there's drums, but they're not played by drummers.
Right.
Like I was listening to this John Frusciante solo record from 2004 on the drive up here, and the drummer on it is Josh Klinghoffer, who's like a guitar player.
Okay.
And he's doing some stuff that I'm like, as drummers, you never really think of it. And sort of look up some records where a guitar player is playing the drums, and they have a different approach to the instrument. It's pretty fresh.
That's actually really cool. To hear something like that, right? A different perspective on how that instrument's played.
Yeah.
Coming from a guitar player or a different
Totally.
instrumentalist.
Yeah, and sometimes they do say, like, you can't do that. You can't play a crash cymbal without a kick drum under it.
Right.
But
There's no rules, really, right?
no, but you grow up like you they're not rules, but it's just
Program almost.
it's just not done. Every crash needs to be anchored by a kick.
Yeah.
But then you hear someone do it, and it's like, oh, that's really cool. And sometimes just those little things can really make your part stand out in a song.
That's very true.
Awesome.
That is awesome.
Well, Keith, give us a lowdown about your new record and what you got going on right now currently, man.
So High Teens is we just put out 2 singles.
Okay.
And these singles are interesting because we put out a song called Munition Street, and then we just put out a song called Insomniac. And we recorded them ourselves mostly. Like we recorded the drums ourselves.
Nice.
Which we had never done before. We did one where we did the guitars. We had some help with the vocals, but we're trying to move towards being like a sort of self-sufficient in that respect.
And how did you find the process, taking it on yourself this time, trying to do your own
The drums especially.
drums?
Well, we brought in a guy to help us out with the miking, but we did it in our jam space, and we rented the mics, and he was kind of there to be like, what are you doing? Do it like this. I liked it. It was cool. It was interesting. It put a lot more pressure on me. I feel like you have to perform a little bit better because you don't have some whiz with Pro Tools.
Right.
I've never been like lately. I've been trying to get away from really heavily quantized stuff, but the downside to doing it yourself though is it takes a little bit longer because when you've blocked off X amount of time and money's being spent, there's a clock on the wall. You got to get it done.
The pressure's on.
But now it's just like, oh man, we'll do guitars. Like I'm busy this Monday.
We'll get it next Wednesday.
Yeah, and it's like, oh my god. So I was actually kind of the one that like didn't want to do it on our own, but for kind of that reason. Mm-hmm. But I'm enjoying it, and it's a different vibe when you are recording because some studios are really sterile.
They can be.
They feel like a laboratory.
Yes.
Some are cool, some are like a little bit more relaxed. But when you're doing it in like familiar surroundings and it's just the guys in the band, you get a more relaxed sound. Feels a lot more natural, anyways.
You can hear it in the music.
Yeah, and I'm really happy with the way the drums turned out on those two. They're a little, I wouldn't say raw, but they just feel like more like me.
Listen
Keith, that sounds amazing, and I hope everybody checks out the link in the description below so you can pick up a copy of that single.
Thanks.
Amazing.
We should be having some new stuff. We're trying to consistently release singles right now and play
as much as you can.
As much as we can, yeah.
Check these guys out, High Teens. You'll on the socials, link down in the description below. And thanks again, Keith, for coming out today and making this so much fun. We truly do appreciate the time you took to hang out with us and answer some questions. And we truly wish you the best in your drumming career and your journey.
I wish you the best on this podcast, guys.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And if anyone is interested in checking out some more amazing videos of Keith, please head over, check out all his sweet bands, all his footage, and his social media. All the links listed below.
Thanks, guys.
Until next time.
Keep grooving and have fun.
And remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and follow us on all our socials linked in the description below.
We'll see you next time.
In paradise.
Whoa,